Tonight, scrambling to book a slot for a shot as Ontario expands booster eligibility to anyone 18 and older.
There was nothing available, so these clinics are your only option.
Many opting to line up for hours at pop-up clinics instead after spots were snatched up quickly through the provincial portal this morning. Plus,
fresh air circulating is a good way to prevent the spread of the virus.
TTC riders are advised to bundle up. The Transit Commission taking steps to battle the spread of Omicron by leaving windows in all of its buses open. And the sister of Carolina Chiasulo gives an emotional victim impact statement at the sentencing hearing of the man responsible for the crash that killed Chiasulo and her 3 young daughters. Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. Ontario reporting nearly 3,800 new cases of COVID-19 today. The rapid increase in infections has many in the province scrambling to get their 3rd vaccine dose. The government expanding eligibility for booster shots this morning, opening up its online booking portal to anyone 18 and over. But almost as quickly as it opened, spots were snatched up. Chris Glover has more.
It's becoming a familiar sight. Expanded vaccination eligibility combined with a surge in COVID cases, prompting a rush on vaccine clinics.
There you go.
Thank you.
And lines so long, you may need refreshments and a seat.
First 2 shots, I waited like 6 hours each time. So, to me, this is better. And the cold's nothing.
We have our Tims, so we're willing to wait.
Yep. Ontario expanded 3rd dose eligibility today to all adults. 15 minutes in, Ottawa Public Health tweeted all appointments were booked. Many across the province ditched the digital wait for an in-person shot at protection.
I went on the booking site this morning right at 8 o'clock, and their booking was starting for January 20th, so I wanted to rush down here and see if I can get one of these 400.
There was nothing available, so these clinics are your only option.
Capacity is amped up at all 5 City of Toronto mass clinics, and some staff will be working through the holidays.
COVID-19 doesn't take Christmas off and won't take Christmas off, and Team Toronto doesn't either.
Last Monday, Ontario reported around 1,500 cases. Today, nearly 3,800, a 146% jump in 1 week. But the hospital strain is so far remaining stable. Last Monday, 161 COVID patients were in Ontario ICUs. Today, 164. But doctors fear even if Omicron makes, on average, fewer people sick enough for a hospital stay, with so many more getting infected in a couple of weeks, that could overwhelm the health system.
You really want to work hard to extend the opportunity to vaccination to those who will, quite frankly, fare worse if they were to get a breakthrough infection.
And so, in York Region, booster doses are not being expanded to the 18-plus crowd until it satisfies demand of those 50 and older. Several public health units say they're receiving a low supply of Pfizer doses from the province. UHN says its supply of Pfizer is so low, people over 30 will have to accept a Moderna shot or cancel their appointment. The Ministry of Health says given historical uptake, it's requested 4 million more Pfizer doses. Some, though, unwilling to wait for new shipments or pre-booked appointments.
Making an investment in my health, so if it means I gotta wait in the cold for 2 hours, then that's what I do.
And clearly, she is far from alone. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
No COVID deaths were reported today, but in anticipation of a spike in COVID hospitalizations, Unity Health Network is stopping non-essential care. The health network includes St. Mike's, St. Joe's, and Providence Healthcare. Its CEO released a statement saying they put non-essential ambulatory care and surgical procedures temporarily on hold and moved all non-essential ambulatory visits from in-person to virtual where possible. They add they are prioritizing people with urgent conditions or anyone whose prognosis would be impacted by a delay. Affected patients will be notified by their care team. And there were more long lines today for people hoping to get their hands on a box of rapid tests. One of the giveaways taking place early this morning at Union Station.
Ministry of Health is going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week, and then they'll be here next week as well. So there's other opportunities as well for you to get it. So I'm sure, pretty confident they're going to give them all out today.
And she was right. Not long after that, the 1,000 free kits did run out. Unfortunately, that meant some of the people who had waited in line walked away empty-handed.
This is the downtown core of Toronto.
It is the downtown core, and this is the most vaccinated core as well. So hence why we're trying to accommodate anybody
4
else
boxes
that's out
for
there.
all of you.
I woke up at 6 a.m., thought I'd get here a bit early, but it wasn't good enough.
The test kits were supplied by the Ministry of Health. They are being distributed for free at locations throughout the GTA. TTC riders may want to bundle up. Windows are being left open in all TTC buses as a new measure by the Transit Commission to slow the spread of the Omicron variant. But as Dahlia Ashery reports, not everyone is welcoming the idea, including union leaders.
On a hot summer day, having the windows open on the bus can be refreshing, but now they are required to be open during the cold winter as well.
Circulation and ventilation was a good way to prevent the spread of the virus. We made a move to open all the windows on the buses.
It's the latest step by the TTC in the face of the Omicron variant. The new measure welcomed by some, like this passenger, who says he would rather endure a frigid ride if it means it will be a safer one.
To maintain fresh air at the bus, you know, because I'm trapped with people inside.
Others, though, are not too happy with the idea.
Keeping windows sometimes is open in the daytime, but now it's too cold.
TTC spokesperson Stuart Green is reminding riders the buses are heated.
So the HVAC systems are quite effective. Even with the windows open, the vehicle should still be much warmer than it is outside, which is good.
And though it's not advised, if it does get too cold to bear,
and you're unable to move to another part of the bus, by all means you can close that window.
Union leaders, though, say they're against the move.
I don't think the way that they've set it up is making for a safer work environment.
Marvin Alfred is the president-elect of TTC's largest union. He says there are better options.
Return to rear door boarding, move the white line further back away from the operator, have the 2 seats behind the operator no longer occupied by passengers. There are other ways in order to address this, have a safer work environment.
As for Metrolinx, it says it is not considering a similar measure, adding it is confident in its filtration system.
For safety reasons, the windows actually only open in a case of an emergency. Having a face covering on, as well as that filtration and the amount of air that's cycling through, that our vehicles are extremely safe.
The TTC says they will continue to monitor the situation. If anyone has any concerns, they can report it to their customer service. In the meantime, COVID safety precautions like masking, sanitization, and mandatory vaccination for all staff will continue to be implemented. Dahlia Ashery, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Nick, a pretty nice day and not as cold as is expected for this time of year.
Well, Kelda, today a little warmer than seasonal. We hit 4 degrees today, the average closer to about the 0 mark, but things are changing. And we've actually got some flurries to talk about in the long-range forecast. Will they stick around, though, for Christmas? I'll get to that in the long range in just a sec. Here's what we're looking at, though, over the next 24 hours or so. We've got a little system that's going to push through. Now, this is actually going to drag temperatures down and behind it, but tonight, look for a few isolated flurries. Tomorrow, we start off the day with a mix of sun and cloud, but heading into the afternoon, increasing cloud cover pushes across the region. And then as we move through Tuesday night into Wednesday, the risk for some wet flurries there through the overnight period and into Wednesday as well. Not a big system, though, certainly not for us anyway in the GTA. The next 24 looks like this: -2 tonight, wind chills to about -5 as we move through tomorrow afternoon. We're looking at a high of 2 degrees with increasing cloud cover and evening flurries. But of course, the big question for many is, will it be a white Christmas? I'll have the answer coming up in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Nick. It was an emotional day inside a Brampton courtroom as the grieving family of Carolina Chiasulo and her children read their victim impact statements. Chiasulo and her 3 daughters were killed when a speeding vehicle driven by Brady Robertson collided with their car last year. Ali Chiasson has more.
First to speak was Anna Martin, Carolina Chiasulo's sister. Your Honor, I am not going to stand here and tell you how I feel about Brady Robertson and what my opinion of him is, as you can already guess. Instead, I will tell you about my sister. June 18th was the worst day of my life. That afternoon, Chiasulo was driving home from a morning visit at her parents' house with her 3 young daughters in the car. 21-year-old Brady Robertson, driving his Infiniti G35, blew through a red light at Countryside and Torbram, smashing into Chiasulo's SUV, killing everyone inside. Her sister Anna Martin said of the crash, "This was no accident. That kind of reckless driving is a choice." Robertson pleaded guilty to all 4 counts of dangerous driving causing death, but not guilty to impaired driving, despite having 8 times the legal limit of THC in his blood. Justice Sandra Caponecchia has not given her judgment on those charges yet, since the defense launched a constitutional challenge of the legal limit of THC being just 5 nanograms. She is tasked with deciding whether Robertson, described as a chronic user, was actually impaired by the THC in his system. Justice Caponecchia will make her judgment in the new year. Chiasulo's friends and family chose not to attend those proceedings, resenting that the court would even hear the constitutional challenge that Robertson wasn't impaired behind the wheel. But today was about the impact of the crash on Chiasulo's family and friends. Anna Martin now says, "Everything that my kids do is a reminder of what the girls won't get to do." The thing that people don't see about grief is the emotions, the constant confusion, the numb feeling, the rage, the feeling that someone punched you in the gut. Like, how is this my life? Your Honor, I just wanted you to understand the love that we had for each other. 73 victim impact statements will be submitted to the court justice this week, which will be taken into consideration ahead of sentencing, expected in the spring. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
We're seeing the scale of destruction in central Philippines 3 days after Typhoon Rai tore through, killing at least 375 people. About 500 people were injured after the powerful storm slammed into the region last week. With more than 50 others still missing, officials say the death toll will likely increase. Massive cleanup and repair work happening around the clock to restore communication and power lines in many towns and villages. Refrigerated warehouses with large stocks of COVID-19 vaccines don't have electricity and are now running out of fuel. Another big worry is limited access to food and clean drinking water in hard-hit areas. Now, Toronto's Filipino community is closely following the devastation left in the wake of the storm, mobilizing to help support the aid effort. Kirtan Asasi-Theron has those details.
As of now, I did not contact some of my family back home. It's hard. It's heartbreaking.
Lenore Abad Poisner says she couldn't just sit down and watch the devastation that's ripped through the Philippines.
What we're trying is probably we will provide generators to some refilling stations so they could provide water, and some people can charge their cell phones and contact their loved ones.
Meanwhile, organizations like Anakbay in Toronto, made up of Filipino youth, are also stepping up.
When these calamities happen, our families are pressured to remit more and more money back home. The Philippines always gets hit by typhoons, and the situation will only worsen every year as global climate change will affect the most vulnerable populations.
Global Medic hasn't been called on to deploy their emergency kits yet, but they say they're ready to support.
But we realize that what families actually need are basic necessities like access to clean drinking water and hygiene items. So we've reached out to everyone we know there and we said, hey, listen, we know you're in a bit of world of hurt. Do you need our help? We've got kits ready. Do you want them? We'll get them in the air right away.
Toronto-based charity Shelterbox, which provides emergency shelter systems, have supported the Philippines for years.
Usually when these disasters happen and people lose their homes, they go to collective centers. So there's hundreds of people in one building. And we know that with COVID, that can allow the virus to spread really quickly. So getting emergency shelter to these people not only is crucial because shelter is a human right, but in terms of COVID, it actually saves lives.
The damage is still being assessed in the region, and it is expected that the death toll will go up. Kirtan Asasi-Theron, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. A project more than a decade in the making is finally getting off the ground. Now, this year, the Toronto Zoo started turning animal waste into electricity. The idea was first introduced to the city in 2007. 14 years later, the site is now in operation. Talia Ricci tells us more about ZooShare.
You wouldn't think this pile of poop from this rhino would have anything to do with this. But the Toronto Zoo and Zoo Share have worked together to create poo power. It starts here.
Rhinos actually poop in a pile. It's called a midden. At this point, we're sitting at about 500 to 600 pounds in a day. Very physical. Yeah, as you can see behind me, that's a lot of manure. Open. Good boy.
Does the smell ever bother you, or are you totally used to it now?
When the rhinos poop fresh, it is very pungent, and so it can be, sometimes I think some people call it offensive. I'm so used to it now that it doesn't bother me that much.
With over 5,000 animals, we do produce an awful lot of manure every single year. By diverting our waste manure to the biodigester, not only are we trying to deal with the amount of manure waste that we're producing every year, but we're producing a renewable energy source for the Ontario hydro grid.
You can see all the fiber component, you can see the hay strands. What we do is we put it in our manure bins and our material collections. We'll grab all of our manure on site, and if it's going to be repurposed for a biogas digester, that's where it's going to head.
The zoo manure arrives from the zoo on a regular basis. Once the zoo manure is mixed in with that food waste, it goes into our receiving tanks where it is then pumped into the pasteurizer building. Then the two organic streams together go into our digestion tank where they make biogas. We're just going to go up to the roof of the digester here. You can get yourself a nice view of the area around our plant, but also we can see some of the equipment that we've got installed on the roof of the digester. After the digestion is complete and the organic matter has released almost all the gas that it's going to release, it goes into our end storage tank where we store the digestate and the biogas that we produce. That digestate is essentially fertilizer, and twice a year we empty the tank, we load it into tankers and drive it about 10 kilometers north of here to some of the agricultural lands within the Rouge Park.
It's a process that's entirely self-sufficient, and one Daniel Bita loves to share with others through tours. He also hopes to expand the facility one day.
We make on an annual basis enough power for 250 homes a year, and the heat that we make from burning the gas to make the electricity is then used to keep the whole process going. We're taking what other people call waste and we turn it into energy and fertilizer. So we're really, extracting value where others see waste, and that's what excites me on a day-to-day basis about biogas in general.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
And you're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, partly cloudy overnight with a few flurries possible. Currently, it is 3 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Nick now with a look at your extended forecast. And Nick, Christmas not too far away now. Many people wondering, will it be a white one?
Well, Calda, with 5 days left until we get to Christmas Day, we're looking at the potential here for a white Christmas, and that shows up in our weather headlines. Unfortunately, it looks more like a wet Christmas. Here's what the weather headlines have to say. Cooler nights ahead, midweek snow, a couple centimeters, not too much to speak of. And the potential here really for some rain or rain showers at least on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I'm going to show you that in just a second. For the next couple of days, though, here's how it plays out. Cold front is going to sweep through and drop temperatures as we move through tonight. We've got the risk for a few flurries, but for the most part, just partly cloudy skies. Mix of sun and cloud to kick off the day tomorrow. As we head into the afternoon, increasing cloud cover. And then we've got some snow and snow flurries pushing across the north. For the GTA, nothing really accumulating here as we move through Wednesday. With some streamers coming off of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, there is the potential, especially along the north edge of the GTA, to pick up 1 or 2 centimeters of snow, but at this point not looking at much in the way of accumulating snows for the GTA. Most of it stays to the north. In fact, when you look at this through Wednesday evening, accumulating snows up around Lake Huron and Georgian Bay for the City of Toronto, maybe a centimeter in there, but it's really going to depend on where you are, and that's largely linked to those streamers that are going to be coming off of Georgian Bay. Winds are going to ease up as well. By the time we hit Tuesday morning, we're looking at generally light winds, and that sticks around as we head through the day on Tuesday. In terms of temperatures for southwestern Ontario, -3 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, just above the 0 mark at 2-3 degrees. The risk for a few flurries, but generally just cloudy skies. Golden Horseshoe, much the same here tonight. The risk of a few flurries, -2, -3. And then tomorrow, looking at highs of about +2 with increasing cloud cover throughout the afternoon. Few flurries on Tuesday night. Wednesday, again, a few lingering flurries. Thursday might pick up about a centimeter or so, but then things shift. We get a warm up, and it looks like some rainfall there for Friday into Saturday. Kelda.
Thanks, Nick. Finally tonight, if you're growing weary of shorter days and shrinking sunlight, not to worry, tomorrow is winter solstice, and that means a little more daylight is just around the corner. Fiona Odlum explains.
The winter solstice marks the first day of astronomical winter. It's also the day with the shortest amount of sunlight. But what actually happens on the day of the winter solstice? This year, it's happening on Tuesday, December 21st at exactly 9:59 a.m. Central Standard Time. We know the exact minute because it's when the Earth's axis is pointed the furthest away from the sun. This means the sun's path is as low in the sky as it can get, even at high noon. A fun thing to do on the day of the winter solstice is to head out around noon. That's where you'll see your shadow, and it'll be the longest shadow you'll see all year. It's all thanks to the angle of the sun. Try standing in the same place on the summer solstice and you will barely see your shadow. While the solstice does mark the beginning of winter, it also marks the beginning of more sunlight. So enjoy that sunshine arriving soon.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And with Christmas now just 5 days away, we'll leave you tonight with some of the impressive holiday light displays across the country. Have a great night, everyone.